Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Here again with me, Kudriyah Ahmad Satroli. Now I'm taking this video for I'm fulfilling my assignment in speaking. So now for the inspired speaking mid test, I'm going to choose the theme about motivations. So my motivation is about get comfortable with being uncomfortable. I myself is like a professional troublemaker, as my job is to critique the work that the shoddy teams and the people who refuses to do better. And the people who refuses to do better, as a listener, as a speaker, and as a student, I feel like my purpose is to be active persons. That I'm the person who's looking at other people like, I need you to fix this. That's me. Yes, that's me. And I was asked to leave this work better than we found it first. And how I choose to affect change is by speaking, by speaking up, by speaking, by being the first and being the domino that for a line of dominoes to fall, that one has to fall first, which then leave the others. Choiceless they'll leave the other to choiceless to do the same. And that domino falls. We are hoping that, okay, the next person that falls, we are hoping that they see this is inspired to be domino also. Being the domino for me looks like picking up and doing things that are really difficult, especially when they are needed with the hope that others follow soon. And here's the thing, I'm the person who says, who what you might say that be thinking dare not to say anything. A lot of time peoples that we're fearless, that people we do this, they say we are fearless. But we are not. We are not unafraid of the consequences of sacrifices that we have to make. That we have to make by speaking truth with the power. What happened is, we feel like we have to because there are too few of people willing to take that fall at first. We are not doing it without fear, but two of people willing to take that fall, we are not doing it. Few of people not willing to be the domino. So let's talk about my fear. I'm people who are unable to speak up in the public at first. I almost have a stage fear. That's me. Stage fear at first 2 years ago. That's me. But then I realized fear has a very concrete power of keeping us from doing and saying the things that are our purpose, that are our purposes. And I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna let fear rule my life. And then all of us and things I started happening, and the domino started to fall for me. That now, 2019, I made a big change in my life by doing in sort of thing. So, and I feel the things, I don't feel like every day that I'm speaking in truth against institutions and people who are bigger than me, just forces that are more powerful than me. I feel like it is impossible, but I realize comfort is overrated. But because being quiet is also comfortable, and all comfort has done is maintain the status quo. So we have got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable by speaking hard truth when they're necessary. And for me, though, I realize that I have to speak truth because honesty is so important to me. My integrity is something I hold this that justice, about justice, I don't think justice should be an option. We should always have justice. April. Justice. I don't think justice will be an option. We all should always have a justice. And I think the work will be better if we were more moisturized. But beside of that, with all this is with all this difficulty and is as my core values, I have to speak the truth. But people like me shouldn't be the ones who are committed to being these dominants, who are always backing up for things, for being the first to take this hit. People are so afraid of those as consequences, not realizing that they are many times, not realizing that many times of them when them walk in the rooms and they are some of the most powerful people in those rooms. We might be the second or might be uh, uh, the third most powerful persons. And I firmly believe that our job in the first time is to disturb what is happening. And then, if we are not the most powerful, if two more of us band together, it makes us powerful. It's like consigning the women who cannot seem to get her word out, or just making sure that the other person who can't make a point is being heard. Our job is to make sure they have room for that. But then, so many people have been the dominant when they talk about how they have been assaulted from the powerful man. And it makes millions of women join in and say, me too. So I think it's also a shout out to China Bird for igniting that movement. That movement. So peoples and systems counter our silence to keep us exactly where we are. Not being the dominant sometimes comes down to being exactly who you are. I feel like that's being the dominant because in the word that we us to talk want us work one as a representative of ourselves. Being yourself can be a revolution in act. And in a word that want us to whisper, we have to choose to yell. That's when the time to say those hard things that we should ask ourselves. Three things. First, one, did you mean it? Second, can you defend it? Three, did you say it with love? So I think if the answer is yes to all three, say it and let the chip fall. That's really important. That's the checkpoint. Always tell yes, you are supposed to do this. Telling the truth, telling tactful truth should not be a revolutionary act. Speaking truth to power should not be sacrificed, but they are sacrificed. But I think more of us choose to do this for the greater good. We'll be in a for the greater good. We will be in a better spaces than we are right now. Speaking of the greater good, to tell the truth, to build bridges, to common ground, and that bridges to common ground and bridges are not based on truth will be collapsed. So it is our job, it is our obligations, it is our duty to speak truth to power, to be the dominant, not just when it's difficult, but especially when it's difficult. I think that's all for my motivations. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.